Hello and welcome to our little astrological reading today. I'm going to do a pick a card, but before we start out, I wanted to do a little astrological reading that applies to everybody because there's a new moon today in Pisces, and it's a really beautiful new moon. So I wanted to tell you about it. If you want to know where this affects you in your chart exactly, you can, if you wanted to, Venmo me $5 and your birth date, the exact time and location, if you have the exact time, the location of where you were born, being city, state, or the country, then I can tell you exactly how this new moon will be affecting you and what parts of your chart, if it touches any of your own planets, your personal planets, etc. That being said, let's get into the astrological reading itself, and then I'm going to give you 3 different choices to pick from, and we'll get into the tarot reading. So this new moon in Pisces is really, really cool, I think. So this new moon is happening at 15 degrees in Pisces. And, no, sorry, 18 degrees. I'm so sorry I said that. 18 degrees in Pisces. And I looked up the Sabian symbol for that. And the symbolism is so cool. It's a prism. And I want to read you what I read on the internet about what this symbol has to say about the prism. I think this is just such a cool energy, especially for what's happening in the world right now. So the Sabian symbol for 29 degrees Pisces, because you round up from whatever number it is, you always go the next number up. A prism, which represents the ability to see the many facets of truth, light, and consciousness, or to break down complex spiritual experiences into a spectrum of understanding. This degree emphasizes spiritual discernment and the ability to look through a higher perspective, which is like absolutely what we need right now. I think everybody needs that. I think my eyes, personally, I've been opened up to a lot of other like new perspectives and ideas and ways of thinking. I mean, the whole past year has jarred everyone, I think, even since the beginning of 2026, where just reality is kind of flipped on its head. And it's been a big growing opportunity for everybody, and good for you if you're taking advantage of that. I think it's hard not to. I think it's hard to look past some of the things that have come out. And this new moon is a really beautiful opportunity to integrate it and to integrate anything that's been happening in your life in a healthy, positive way that will affect you for the next 6 months, if not longer. Okay, so such a cool symbol with a prism. At the same time, there are a few really cool transits that are happening. This applies, again, to everybody. We have Venus squaring Jupiter at 15 degrees of Aries. That's where Venus is. And Jupiter is at 15 degrees of Cancer. And so when I look into the Sabian symbols of those, well, I guess I should get into the energies themselves really quick. For those who don't know, Venus represents like money and love and beauty and things of an aesthetic nature, things of a more feminine nature. It's all of those things, right? You associate with the goddess Venus. And then Jupiter represents expansion and growth, and like it expands everything it touches, it blows everything up, and it can be better for worse, right? But it's generally looked at as a benefic planet, which is a positive thing. So both of these planets are actually benefics. So with Venus squaring Jupiter, the square is usually a more difficult aspect, but not necessarily negative. This just a square basically is saying there's tension here, that like something has to be done. Action has to be taken when there's a square. So Venus, the planet of love, beauty, money, joy, like anything having to do with that aesthetic stuff, is squaring, being like, hey, we need to change something, do something here, to Jupiter, planet of expansion, growth. Also represents like spirituality and like higher perspectives, higher learning, philosophy, religion. So there's like this tension that's being like, hey, we need to change how we're doing this, or we're thinking about this thing, or maybe something happens that changes our perspective in a positive way, and we're able to like, we know we have to change the way that we view the world. Or, there's a new breath of life, right? Like maybe your views of the world have already been changing, but then Venus comes in and says like, hey, here's how we're going to deal with it. Here's a positive way that we can integrate this energy, right? This is just action being taken between the two of them. And with Venus being in Aries, the sign of like, I am, and the self-starter, the fiery, passionate, like, go, I'm doing this is me energy. Venus is ready to get ish done, and just go for like, with this very passionate energy. And then with Jupiter being in the sign of Cancer, that's a lot of heightened emotion. That is expanding. Cancer rules emotion, and it rules like basically the mother archetype. It rules all of that. Mental well-being, all that. So deep expansion, it seems, and change on an emotional, mental, philosophical, or spiritual level, the way that we view the world. And it is being asked, not just asked, but kind of demanded to take action in a way that feels better than just allowing ourselves to feel pummeled by this, right? Venus is saying, let's find the beauty. Let's figure out how to harness this, make money off of it maybe, or like just figure out how to integrate it in a way that is in alignment with the beauty that we want to see in the world, etc. Okay, so now I'm going to read to you the Sabian symbols for both of these placements. Again, you round up, so this is 60 degrees of Aries. That's where Venus is. People dancing in the light of sunset is the Sabian symbol, which is so beautiful. Like, so beautiful. Okay, not do we only have a prism, which is talking about the light being separated, and we understand that the light is not one singular thing, but all of these other wavelengths. Then you have Venus at the same time squaring Jupiter, and Venus is saying people dancing in the light of sunset. Like, this is joy, this is invigoration, this is a pep for life, and it's enjoyment of nature and what is here for us always. And then you have Jupiter, which is at 15 degrees of Cancer. And the Sabian symbol for that is someone studying a mandala in front of them with an ancient scroll as like help to understand it, which I think is also so very cool. Because to me, mandalas, you know what a mandala is. It's like the pattern. It's like a circular kind of pattern usually. And it's complex and intricate. It's basically like a fractal, right? With a center point, coming out of a center point. And it's a pattern. That's what it is. And light is just different forms of the same pattern. And it's like taking delight not only in dancing in the sunlight, but also breaking it down and trying to understand it, right? Like, not that we have to understand everything in order to enjoy it, but a lot of the time our joy comes from understanding things. Like, once we learn what light even is and that it brings, we can harness it and use it, and there's something so magical about that. So we're noticing patterns in our lives and in the world at large, and we are studying this mandala. We see it as this pattern versus just being an out of sync, weird event, right? We see, oh, this has happened before actually, and this has happened over and over and over again, and now I can see this, and because I can see this, I can break it down, and maybe we can do something with it, and maybe we can dance with it. And I'm being really lighthearted about this. I know things have been really, really heavy for a lot of people, and that's not something, that's something I'm thinking about all the time personally. So this new moon is actually a really cool opportunity to look at this energy and find new ways to harness it. Okay, so that's happening at the same time of this new moon, which new moons, if you don't already know, represent new beginnings where we're breaking the light into a rainbow and seeing and knowing the difference, right? Understanding the diversity of things. So then at the same time as these transits going on, the new moon and Venus square Jupiter, we also have Mercury exactly conjunct the North Node, which is very cool, which means it's also opposite the South Node, because the nodes are always opposite of each other. If you didn't know that, the nodes represent fated things, right? It represents our karma, or like basically our direction. And so collectively, like generally what this means, with Mercury being the planet of communication and its words, it's writing, it's thinking, it's how we communicate, it's like transit, short-term transit, yeah, all of that kind of thing, conjunct the North Node, which represents like forward direction. It's where we're going. It's the fated forward direction. It's saying there's communication and ideas and imaginings here that seem fated. So this could show up as like an idea, right? Or it can come up in a conversation, or maybe you find yourself in a new place that you're like, I always drive past this place, but I'm gonna try it out for the first time, and it ends up being like a staple place for you for whatever reason. Maybe you meet somebody, or like it just becomes, whatever is happening with Mercury here feels fated. And even if that's something that feels a little light, or if it's something that feels more intense for you, it might depend on where it's happening in your chart, among other things, obviously. But then, yeah, I don't know how I was finishing that sentence, but yeah, that's how it goes. So I'm going to read to you the Sabian symbol for that, and that where this is landing is at 8 degrees of Pisces, in the same sign that this new moon is happening. And the Sabian symbol is a jockey spurs his horse in an attempt to basically get it to speed up and to gain distance on his rivals, right? Which is competitiveness, but it's also like joy, right? Because you're a jockey, you're doing this for the love of the sport. Like this is like a game thing. And it's also like a sense of urgency. It's a sense of action being taken. I'm harkened back to the square between Venus and Jupiter with this Mercury conjunct the North Node. I mean, Jupiter is also traditionally ruling or ruled by Pisces. And Pisces is where this Mercury conjunct North Node and the new moon is happening. So it seems very, very intertwined anyway. So this square feels really urgent again. And that shows up again here in this jockey, this jockey spurring his horse to go faster. It's like, giddy up and get it done, So this is really, really cool energy. I hope that you're feeling it and that you feel inspired to do whatever you're doing. I'm doing this currently. This new moon is going to happen in like 2 hours from when I'm recording this. Exactly. It's basically maybe even the next hour. I don't remember. And I'm in mountain time. It's 5 where I am right now. Anyway, whatever. But it's really exciting, all this energy. And then I wanted to add that on Friday, Mercury's been in retrograde, right? And on Friday, Mercury goes direct. And that just means like during the Mercury retrograde, if you don't already know, basically it's like a revision. It's like a review of like you're thinking about past things, or past things might come back up. It's like harder to communicate, harder to know what you're feeling a lot of times, depending on the transits and like the placements in your chart or whatever. Once it goes direct, that's prime energy for getting things done. So this new moon is a perfect time to plan something, start to put it into motion. Friday, when Mercury goes direct, that's going to be an amazing time to really, really push it forward. But do something tonight to like, within the next 24 hours. I mean, honestly, while this is still an orb, it's like always good. But I think just in general, like use this energy, even if it's something that you're just spending time to ideate or write down an idea, or just like say a little hope, out into the universe. Do it, because this energy is prime. The last thing I wanted to say about this general energy is that Saturn is sextiling Pluto. It's coming into a more exact sextile. It's going to be, excuse me, within the exact orb in the next day, I believe. So I want to explain what that means. So Saturn is the planet of basically discipline. They call it Daddy Saturn. It's really like intense energy. I don't know. I don't get into that. It's really intense energy. It's like basically gonna whoop your ass into shape, right? Even if it's painful, it's like learn discipline, and it's for the better, for the best, honestly. But it can introduce feelings of like, I don't know, loneliness or different things. I'm going through a personal like T-square in my chart with Saturn squaring my moon and then my stellium. Like, it's really insane. But I digress. Saturn basically is saying to Pluto, Saturn, planet of discipline, to Pluto, planet of deep transformation, change, rebirth, reform. This is a positive, the sextile energy. And it's saying to each other, like, let's make change and let's make lasting change. Let's be disciplined. Let's make a plan that's not just light and airy and kind of carefree. Like, we need to be serious about this. Like, let's dance in the light of the sunset, but let's make sure that we can keep doing this. Like, let's make sure that this is becomes sort of an active ritual that we're committed to, kind of energy, and that's going to positively affect the long term and deeply transform us. With this Saturn being in Aries, of the I am, get it started, get it going kind of energy, fiery, sextiling supportively Pluto in Aquarius, which is very inventive and brings new ideas and innovation and like really ready to do things differently. It's really cool energy for the world at large, I think. I'm actually really excited about this new moon as I'm talking about it. But I hope that it is good for you. And again, if you want a personal reading about how this specific event this specific lineup is going to affect you in your chart, $5 at my Venmo. I'll link that in the bio, and the description of this video, and tell you what to include again there. But anyway, without any more of that, let's get into some pick a cards for this. So I picked 3 different books for this, and rocks for this reading. So the first one is going to be this book called Imagination's Other Place, and it is a book of poetry about mathematics that I really, really love. And I'm just going to read a random excerpt from it before we start your reading. And here is the rock that I picked for it. This is an agate that reminds me of Jupiter. Look, it even has like a little storm. I love this rock, which Jupiter is involved in this new moon heavily, obviously, we just talked about. And yeah, this really feels really Aquarian to me, this book as well. Combination. I just need to get over myself. Anyway, that's the first one. The second one is going to be called, this book by Ruby Carr. It's another book of poetry. It's called The Sun and Her Flowers. It's very springy to me. It's a really beautiful book of poetry again. And then this rock I picked to go with it that reminds me of spring because it's so green. It's called Chrysoprase. So that's number 2, reading 2. And thirdly, I have this book called Revelations in Air by Jude Stewart, and it's a whole book about smells, and it's really cool. So again, I'll just read a little excerpt out of one of these, and yeah, we can do that way. Yeah. Okay. And then with the rock, the stone I chose for this, I chose this selenite heart. So if this resonates for you, you can choose that one. That's reading 3. So we'll just jump in and get started then. You can just click on whatever reading in the description, the time signature, whatever reading you chose. Okay, so starting with Imagination's Other Place and this Jupiter agate that I have. Yeah, I'm just going to place that here in the frame. I'm going to find a random page. Okay, I landed on this poem, page 51. It's called Weather Words. I know 4 winds with names like some strange tune. Chinook, Sirocco, Khamsin, and Monsoon. Like water over pebbles in Lost Brook. Sirocco, Monsoon, Khamsin, and Chinook. Should I know what this means? Maybe this means something to you. I'm wondering if these are like... I don't want to guess. I don't want to guess and be wrong. I mean, obviously I know what monsoon is. Chinook feels like... It feels like a place. Like a tribe or something. I don't want to read into that too much and be wrong and be like politically incorrect, but it does remind me. It feels like a lot of these are words that are more like come from more like traditional, like from tribal kind of traditions, right? I don't know if that's true. I don't want to be wrong, but I have been thinking so much, and I think a lot of people have been thinking so much about how our history has been so much of trying to dominate old cultures and old, beautiful cultures that carry so much spirit and joy, and how they've been oppressed and suppressed over time, and how that's come to so many of the forefront of our minds, and with water, and like how we want to do something about it, right? Like, it feels like different now. It feels like, okay, I can see this in a way I didn't before. If you are, no, yeah. A lot of us were brainwashed for a lot of our lives, right? So, I'm going to read another one, the other page on the same opening. But I also wanted to say with this one, with water being involved, right? Like all these being, a monsoon is like just a downpour of water. And water is represented by, I mean, it's associated with the moon, it's associated with Cancer, and the moon is associated with Cancer, actually, which is very, very emotional. The water is symbolic of that emotion, which actually that's where Jupiter is, and that's what's expanding. So maybe this is the thing, right? Maybe you should just be a normal person and just use Google. Okay, I want to look up Sirocco. We don't need to know everything. We can just learn. So Sirocco is a hot, dry, dust-laden Mediterranean wind originating from North African deserts. Oh, interesting. Often becoming humid upon crossing the sea into southern Europe. This intense, sometimes hurricane-speed winds last hours or days, causing extreme heat, low visibility, and health issues. They form ahead of eastward-moving low-pressure systems. Okay, so hot, dry, dust-laden, Mediterranean. I think I learned something about that being important, actually, for basically like the ecosystem of the planet. I believe that's true, that there's like some dust that carries across an entire ocean that's important for like fertilizing another land. I don't remember totally what I'm talking about, but that's an interesting thought that's coming up. So a monsoon, just for the heck of it, we're just going to define it. A large-scale seasonal reversal of wind patterns caused by temperature differences between land and adjacent oceans, resulting in distinct wet and dry seasons, occurring mainly in summer. They bring heavy rainfall, essential for agriculture, but also causing floods and high humidity. So it's good for the earth, but it's also can be difficult to deal with. I mean, high wind is always difficult to deal with. Both of these things have to deal with water as well. So it deals with hot and cold, and it deals with dry, and like the dry one becomes humid, etc., which is interesting polarities. What's a Khamsin? A Khamsin is a hot, dry, dusty, and violent wind that blows in North Africa and the Middle East, particularly Egypt and the Levant, for about 50 days annually, mostly in late winter or spring. It originates from the Saharan low-pressure systems, causing sudden sandstorms, high temperatures, and poor visibility. I know that this has been happening in that area, a specific area that starts with the letter P that we all love and want to see better from. 4. I mean. So, sandstorms. Again, high temperatures and poor visibility. For about 50 days? Good gravy. That's wild. I'd never heard of that before. Okay, and then we have a Chinook. It's telling me about some kind of airplane. Chinook storm. A warm, dry, and gusty winds that descend the eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains, often raising temperatures by 20 to 40 degrees in minutes. Whoa. Caused by Pacific air shedding moisture over the mountains. They produce extreme winds, melt snow instantly, cause high fire danger, and can create dangerous aviation turbulence. I had never even heard of that before. What is the word Chinook word origin? Because I feel like that is native. Originates from Silesian, specifically Lower Chehalis word Chinook, referring to a Native American group and their village near the Columbia River in the Pacific Northwest. It was adopted in the 19th century to describe the people, their language, trade jargon, and the salmon and warm regional winds. The term is derived from, which may translate to at the neighbor's place. Ugh, that's so cute. Or term for fish eaters. Yeah, okay, cool. So there's your little excerpt that took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take, but maybe it's helpful for you. I mean, where did it go? I just closed it. But basically, talking about, let's read it again. I know 4 words. I know 4 winds with names like some strange tune. Chinook, Sirocco, Khamsin, and Monsoon. Like over pebbles and Lost Brook. Sirocco, Monsoon, Khamsin, and Chinook. Lost Brook. Like water over pebbles in Lost Brook. All these things seem like extreme weather events, right? Like they're difficult to deal with, but ultimately they're difficult to deal with for us. It's just a part of weather and nature in general. It's just a part of the pattern playing itself out, like water over pebbles. But for us, it's like a whole thing, right? That seems relevant. Look at this pattern. Patterns. So there's emotion having to do with the dry and the dust and the wind and the gust. I didn't even mean to do that, Ryan. Okay, let's get another read. So I didn't really think about this. I'm going to do one more little synchronicity part for you. I'm going to just roll this die, these die for you. We got a 4 and a 3. So 7, and that's your lucky number. Actually, 7, isn't that associated with Jupiter? I think Sagittarius, which rules Jupiter, or Jupiter rules Sagittarius, whatever, is the 7th house, like traditionally. Like if you're starting from Aries, is that right? No, is it? I can't think off the top of my head. For some reason, I associate Jupiter with 7. Okay, so 7's your number. Again, I'm going to keep these in the frame. I'm going to try to. New Jupiter rock. Okay, let's get into it. This is the deck I made. It's about physics concepts, and I'm just going to pull 3 cards from it to start us out. This can apply to you relationally, or it can apply to you in your life in whatever way. You can choose how to apply that. It might end up coming out. I don't know. We'll just see. Okay. The first one I'm landing on is this first card, which is awareness. This is like an open eye with, it's just like observing with this dot underneath. For me, represents like I made it to represent awareness. So you're observing what's in front of you. It's kind of like a presence in that way. I guess I'll just leave this. I don't know how to do this. Awareness. I just need to remember how I'm seeing it. Oh my gosh. See, I'm kind of getting this a little mixed up because sorry. This is understanding. Sorry, let me redo this because I thought I had it reversed, but these eyelashes, the three are on top. This is something I need to have written down and memorize. It's embarrassing for me. But this one represents understanding. So awareness is different than understanding. Awareness is more of like, I'm observing what's happening in front of me. I'm just being present in the moment. Understanding is like, I can see this thing for what it is and I understand it. Like I'm standing under it, which is to say, like, I get why it is the way that it is. Even if I don't totally like it, even if, it's just like a becoming one with in the sense of awareness, or it's a little different. It's like a higher sense of just like, I get it, like I'm with it. I like that, I'm with it. Okay, let's do another. Okay, this card represents gravity. So all this light gathered in the center is representative of the gravity pulling inward, and then all of this light on the outside is that the light is also being pushed outward. It's just slightly more inward. So there's like this pattern. This deck having to do with physics has to do with polarities, and so this idea that gravitation is both like a push and a pull. It's levity and gravitation, that we are expanding outwards and then a balance, like expanding outward outside of ourselves and seeking more light beyond us, and then bringing it back in to integrate and being more focused on the integration in the end, but that there's a healthy balance here. Okay. Okay. So this is light propagation. I don't know if you can see the light propagating through this field. So this is light moving through the ether basically, and it chooses a path. It's like in this wave-like pattern, just like with this, what's it called? Prism that we were talking about earlier. Light travels in different wavelengths and everything does. Like time itself is relative. It varies in different ways. And so those are the first to start us out. We have understanding, a sense of gravity, a pulling in, an awareness, bringing the light back in. Understanding, bringing the light back in, and light propagation. Understanding perhaps how it travels, or being able to put out a certain wavelength because of our understanding. That one's this beginning part is kind of like setting the stage. It's a little more obscure, but let's get into more of this. I'm going to use my Kim Kranz Archetypes Oracle deck. I'm going to choose 3 cards from here. The first we have is the Village. So the Village represents the collective, right? It's what you belong to in a wider group. We are social creatures. We're meant to be social creatures, and it literally does take a village, or at least it should. And the fact that our world doesn't so much of the time is unnatural, honestly. I think that there's this general understanding of this coming into play, and hopefully for you might be able to understand that you belong to a village too, and you should belong to that village, which means you can ask for help. You should be able to ask for help. Even if that's something that's difficult for you to do, or other people are telling you shouldn't, whatever, you should always be able to turn to others, and others should be able to turn to you. That's what being a part of a village is. It's not to say that anyone can always help you the way that you exactly want to be helped, or vice versa. You can help others, but I also am noticing as I'm saying this, the circle in the center, that it looks like arrows going around in a circle. So it is like this reciprocal energy that is natural versus the world that we're living in that tells us what isn't, right? Okay, card 2. Cool, we have the Maiden. The Maiden. First things that come to mind, actually this reminds me of Venus. This is kind of yonic, honestly, a little bit. The maiden is very like innocent. Well, not necessarily. I don't like to use that word. The maiden is in touch with her own sense of beauty in an innocent way, right? Like even like the maiden understands that what this feminine beauty is. We have this really feminine kind of colors behind her, not necessarily that pink has to be that, but whatever. And we have some gold boobs, it looks like on there. It looks like that on either side. So yeah, quite feminine. And it's also reminding me, another thing that comes to mind is love, right? This is like a maiden is like ripe for love, like looks forward lovingly and joyfully toward a future of being able to share that with somebody and give that to those around her and see the beauty in the world, smell the roses, and participate in love, the unfurling of this rose. Then we have the shaman here at the third. I see a hand reaching for the stars, diamond, snakes and skulls, a tear, a drop looking thing. This is kind of all of it, really. Reaching out into the void to find, which I find is interesting on this ether field. I mean, the field, right? The universal ether field is what I'm going to call it. It's like reaching out toward this light. It looks like stars and stuff. I'm also noticing how the snake pattern is really similar to this wavelength pattern. And traditionally, the snake, in biblical texts is like temptation and all that, but really, truthfully, is like, the bringer of knowledge. Because when Eve, this maiden, partakes of the fruit of a good knowledge of good and evil, she suddenly is able to actually live. And because of that she has an understanding of what is good and evil. Pre that, she didn't know. There was not really life without that understanding. And so there's this reaching toward this truth, reaching toward that light. All right. I'm going to get into some of this tarot now. I'm going to do 5 cards from this deck. Okay, a couple cards fall out. I'm just going to put them down. We've got the Knight of Cups. We have Temperance. So I'm going to look, it's been a minute since I've done this. From my first impression, Knight of Cups is basically like wanting, like this idea of having, like setting out for new fulfillment. I'm also noticing him riding on a horse, and remember the whole like spurs and the horse on the jockey and the horse speeding it up and like, let's go. I'm feeling emotional about this. I want to fill my emotional cup. I have this understanding now of this village or whatever. This understanding now, and now I have to get going. But with this Temperance here, this is like patience. Let's see. Excuse me. The allergies are coming in with the spring. Oh my goodness. Okay, Temperance. You are discovering how to create balance and harmony in your life. You find alignment and a sense of peace with your external surroundings. Okay. Awesome. Balance and alignment, which is interesting with this gravitational thing as well. We seek outward as just as much as inward, right? To integrate. Excuse me. Wowza. Okay, then we have the Page of Cups in reverse that came out. She landed on top of the Maiden. Okay. Page of Cups. I kind of love that she landed on top of the Maiden because this looks like a maiden to me. She's looking at this fish in this cup. Cups. So emotional. Let's look at this. Page of Cups, reversed. You are keeping your creative inspiration secret. You feel called to do this work, but are worried about whether it is realistic or not. Who cares? Go for it. What have you got to lose? I'm actually feeling that quite a bit myself. So yeah, self-explanatory. This might be a motivation to kick the spurs into this horse to get going on a passion project or something you've been wanting to do. Use this maiden energy to like explore in that bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, unfurling rose energy. Maybe view yourself that way. You want to bloom just like a flower does in the spring. Even in the midst of, and maybe even in spite of the high winds, the gusts, right? There's so many plants that grow here on this planet that do so amidst insane, like, just trouble and hardship, right? In extreme conditions, like high winds. There are plants that are specifically evolved to grow within high winds and in areas that have things like monsoons and cancers, etc. Olive trees, for example, which grow in the Levant, that, you know, is undergoing so much trauma right now on a world stage, and is experiencing those cancers. But the olive represents peace, right? The olive branch, which is an interesting thing. Okay, 2 more things popped out. We have the Empress, which is more of this really cool maiden energy. The Empress is, well, she's usually drawn pregnant, so she's impregnated with this idea. This represents ideas that are waiting to be born. She's holding a pomegranate. This is just such fertile energy. You're being called to do a work, right? And you probably feel that. Her earrings are the Venus symbol. That's pretty cool. With that Venus squaring Jupiter right now. This is probably really weighing heavy on your mind. And you have this Ace of Wands in reverse. So the Ace of Wands represents ideas and extreme passion. Let's see what it has to say in reverse. Because why is it in reverse? That's interesting to me. Like, here we are. Oh, that's not it. Give me a second, I'm sorry. Okay, reversed. You can feel an idea emerging, but you are uncertain what form it will take or how you will manifest it in the world. You may keep your idea private for now until you have more confidence in taking it forward. So that's interesting and conflicting, because this one is also saying you have an idea, well, just go for it. And this one's saying you can keep it secret if you want for now. And honestly, you know, okay, this is what's coming to mind, because we were just talking about the new moon, the place to everybody. And with this new moon happening, it's a perfect time to ideate, right? To use both of these reverse ones. Go inward. Use this gravitational energy to go inward and really, really daydream and really spend time on purpose to imagine and like the best possible thing you can possibly come up with. Like if you could have things exactly how you wanted it to. And then go through a process of realism. And that will be that Saturn sextiling Pluto energy you were talking about, as well as this temperance energy. And that will allow the project to actually be executed. And when Mercury goes direct on Friday, it'll be a perfect time to start implementing that. Use the gusts. You know, these gusts of wind remind me of like bursts of energy and creativity to work on a project, and then like nothing, which just might be showing up for you which makes it hard to work on it, because you're like, I know I like this sometimes, and I want to do this sometimes, and other times I'm like, whatever. But there's probably a reason it's coming on so hard, and to use those gusts, whether they come in some positive way or they come in a more difficult way, use that energy, harness it to put this planet into action. Expansion, growth. Also represents like just jovial, like good things. Like it's kind of the Santa Claus of the planet. So it's like wants to bring good luck and good things to you. So that's your reading. Pile one, thanks for coming. And if you're interested in any other readings, go ahead and click on any of them now. They could also apply to you if you want to move on. Great. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you in the next one. And time to move on to the next one. Oh my gosh, I can feel my allergies so much right now. Let's get this going. Okay, let's get on to pile number 2. Hello, pile number 2. We're going to do your reading now. So to start us out, I'm going to roll this little dice for you. These die give you a number. Got 6 and 3, so that's 9, which is a nice prime number. Then we have this chrysoprase. I think it's beautiful. And then we have this book, The Sun and Her Flowers by Ruby Carr, and I'm going to read an excerpt. I'm just going to turn to a random page. Whoa, this is weird because I landed on this page earlier and it's like new, so there's no reason I should have. Okay, it says, "What is stronger than the human heart, which shatters over and over and still lives?" That's it. Beautiful. And it's got this really gorgeous... I'm just noticing the flowers coming out at the top of the heart. Very spring-like energy, honestly. There's like a new blooming happening for you. That one was a lot shorter than the previous readings intro with the book. But I love that. The heart shatters over and over again. What is more strong than the heart? Which shatters over and over again and continues to still live. All right, I'm going to start us out with 3 cards, drawings from this deck I made. It's like a deck about physics and stuff. One day I'll maybe finish it and have a real, not just prototype of it, but let's start us out. Okay. So this represents vibration. You see the light gathered around it. So first up, this first part of the reading is going to be a little obscure. It's pretty like generalized energy, archetypally like physical energy. So vibration. So this represents timelessness, eternity. This is like this eternal churning of energy where the light is inward and it's also outward, and there's like a perfect balance. And it's not that it's perfectly equal in balance, like the push and the pull, but always alternating, like an alternating current forever, which generates energy. And light, right? There's always this diversity and change of energy, which keeps us animate in general, keeps everything animate. Okay, cool. Pile under this one too, which is gravity. So you can see the light gathered at the center, which represents the pull inward, and then the levity, which is the light gathered on the outside, which is push outward. And there's another, again, balance here. Did you know that the gravity is actually a lot weaker than science says it's supposed to be, and it's kind of a mystery. Anyway, this deck is basically saying, like, there's this balance of gravity is not just gravity. It's not just about gravity and the pull inward and toward the earth, but also the exploration out of oneself, out of one's point of center in gravity, to explore and then bring back in to integrate. And that's ultimately, how it goes. Okay, so let's get into part 2. I'm going to use my Archetypes deck, Oracle deck by Kim Kranz. I'm going to draw 3 more cards. Okay, the first one we have, the riddle. And I love this like triptych kind of knot. It looks like a snake, some eyes and stars in the middle, and hands doing some kind of symbol. Interesting. Their hands coming from the outside and the hand meeting in the middle, where it's like kind of clasping, where it's like the joining of separate forces, separate ideas and different things into one thing, where these 3 things are really intertwined, right? And there's this eye in the center, which like sees it. The riddle, being able to see the 3 separate things is the one knot, right? We'll get to how this makes more sense in a minute. Okay, now we have the venom. Looks like some fangs, some green, which is often associated with poison. Ooh, that's the earth in the center, in the middle of the mouth of this fangy creature. So this could show up as both a feeling of a venomous feeling for what's happening in the world, or the venom being what's happening in the world around us, but also could be happening in our own world, or the way that we can feel so jaded by the world sometimes that we turn the venom outward. But generally, I think we're all kind of feeling this venom. It feels real. It feels like it's really setting for a lot of people. I have some thoughts about that, but we'll get to it in a second. And then we have the mystic. Another eye above this beautiful butterfly with a light in the center. Oh, 2 eyes here. And there's kind of light in the center and the void. So what's coming to mind for me with this venom specifically is, a lot of the time with healing a venomous bite or venomous thing, you use the venom to actually make the antidote, right? And I feel like, at least on a world scale, I've been thinking about this a lot. At least we can see it, right? At least we can see it now, and more people are seeing it. It's getting harder and harder to avoid and ignore what's happening on a world scale. This could apply for you in your own life. Maybe you're seeing the mandala that we talked about earlier in the astrological reading. You're able to separate the light from other kinds of light, and you're able to see the pattern for what it is. And even though it sucks and you hate the way that it feels, and it just feels so painful, the heart, which breaks over and over again but continues to live and grow flowers, is able to do so because the venom is turned into antidote. But we have to be the ones to do that. It's an active process, usually done actually by a mystic, someone who is more trained in whatever, in medicine and alchemy or whatever, who even is willing to consider that there could be an antidote, right? You have to ask the question first, can we fix this? Who came up with that even in the first place? Who was the first person to learn that you can turn venom into an antidote? Anyway, it's painful, it's poisonous, it's a pattern, and we hate that it's a pattern, but at least now we see that it's a pattern, and more people are seeing this mandala, and we're using it, we're looking at ancient scrolls to understand it, and we see that the ancient scrolls have this pattern too, that this is not new, which also sucks. Why is this still happening? Why is this still happening to me in my life particularly, right? Why? And I think it's important to feel that. Let the green be green. Let that venomous feeling be as vivid as it is. And then use that to alchemize and turn into something. Be willing to see behind it. Alchemize it and bring it inward. And turn it into something else. This pattern, the mandala thing, this venomous repetitive patterns, I find is interesting on top of this timelessness, eternity thing, because this has to do with this basically almost balance, but it's slightly imbalanced. And the slight imbalance is what, again, keeps us animate, keeps us moving, keeps us alive at all. What's stronger than the heart, which breaks over and over again, but continues to live. You have this riddle. Honestly, this sounds annoying even coming from myself, because I'm rolling my eyes at myself. But being in the vibration of understanding this riddle, right? Living our lives as if this is a riddle. That's kind of annoying, because sometimes it's this pattern is repeated so many times, it's not even a riddle anymore. It's not even a riddle anymore. I just get it. Why does this have to keep happening? When people talk about, mystics talk about, this is happening and you're learning a lesson from this person, or you're learning how many freaking lessons are I have in my, why does this need to be, it's not a lesson. I've already learned this. Can we just get over it? But being in the vibration that this is always a riddle, and that there's probably more that we don't know yet. There will always be more that we don't know yet. To be a mystic, in the sense that we're in the vibration that all of being is a riddle over and over and over again. And this back and forth energy of learning and process and reprocess. And that sucks sometimes. A lot of the times it does, but then there are the beautiful moments that are just so beautiful. Where the heart blooms with its flowers again. And this green, this venomous green, turns into a floral, springy green, right? The green of the grass and stems of the flowers and the plants. Speaking of alchemy, I'm going to use my alchemy deck now. 3 cards from this deck. Here we have Jupiter. So Jupiter is one of the planets that's affected by this new moon transit. This is such a beautiful card. The pointer finger is covered in gold. I don't know what that hand symbol is, but we've got a star and a rainbow in between those fingers. That rainbow hearkening, in my mind, back to the prism that we talked about earlier. So Jupiter is that planet of expansion. To use Jupiter, to use this riddle, to be basically a student, to be in the vibration of being willing to learn. Jupiter rules spirituality and higher learning and education. And it's asking us to expand in that, right? To be open-minded to what the world is offering us in this intense pattern that we're observing. To know that there is light there and that it can be broken down into individual bands of light. We can understand it. We can better come to understand it. If we're willing to go there. And again, I'm kind of rolling my eyes at myself because I'm the exact kind of person that's like, like annoyed to hear that message. But ultimately that will always be the message, right? As much as even I don't like to hear it sometimes. It's not easy. That venom can be strong. Okay, so then we get the despicable face. This is interesting. The despicable face. This card represents something, it's kind of in the name, something that's hard to look at, something that doesn't feel beautiful, something that feels kind of ugly, which I find is interesting for us to be putting right on top of this venom card. The despicable face, the thing that we hate looking at. We don't want to see it anymore. And maybe it's our own, and maybe it's someone else's, or maybe it's just the world, it's just the truth of what's happening around us in our personal scenarios or the world at large. And I'm noticing there's this giant blotted out brown spot in the middle of this rainbow, right? Like we don't want to see this thing and we'd rather look at something else, right? But this despicable face, again, looking at it, the venom is the only way to get the antidote, by addressing something, by being willing to look it directly in the eyes, multiple eyes, I guess. We can actually see it for what it is, right? And because we see it for what it is, we can actually practice alchemy on it and do something with it, right? It doesn't have to keep being so despicable. And it might actually, right? Some things are meant to be, like some things we should have our minds made up about, like what we think is right or wrong to do to other people or creatures or whatever. But if we are unwilling to even look at it, to like see it because it seems too hard to address, like I get it, we need to find time. We need to make plans on how to address it. Whether that's like deciding, okay, at this point, I'm going to make myself look, and then I'm going to give myself a treat, like I do whatever I love to move to the next thing or whatever. Whatever you need to do to look at the despicable face, that's going to help you move forward, is basically what I'm trying to say. Okay, and then we have this pearl. The pearl. Very cool. So the pearl is something that forms with 1 grain of sand over a long period of time in a clam. Salt water, emotion. It's something that forms under a lot of emotion. And it's the alchemy, right? The mystic turns the venom into something beautiful. I'm going to read actually from the actual book because I'm curious. I feel like I should. Let's see. I'm just curious about what it has to say, the artist has to say about this particular thing. Except here's the thing. Am I an idiot? I don't know how to read Roman numerals anymore. XLIV. Don't judge me for that. I'm a student too in school life. And it turns out if you don't make yourself intentionally review things from time to time, you do lose it. If you don't use it, you lose it. Excuse me? It's like it doesn't want to exist right now. Excuse me. Oh, I just landed on the despicable face. Let me read that a little bit, though. What is hidden, unaccepted, and shamed? The despicable face is never seen. Rather, it is kept in hiding to save outward appearances. This card appears in something below the surface that wants to be witnessed in order to be transformed. So yeah, everyone has their own version of the despicable face and their own reasons for assuming it is an abomination. It could be a buried resentment, an insecurity, or a physical characteristic that holds us back from expressing our true self. Remarkably, once revealed, it is not despicable at all. It is human. It is interesting. What was once thought of as an error becomes an asset on our journey of alchemical transformation. This card connects us to others and to humanity as a whole. Through acceptance, we lift the veil of perfection and reclaim our energy. Honesty and acceptance are the balm that heals the most tender of wounds. It says to watch Edward Scissorhands. Wow, I am sorry for coughing so much. I'm feeling those allergies. I kind of forgot about allergies, to be honest. Okay, Sarah, what's going on? I swear this doesn't exist in the book. Oh, there it is. Of course. Okay. The new pearl. Grit, irritation, waiting. The new pearl is one of the great promises of alchemy. From a single grain of sand, the pearl forms slowly but surely in the salty mouth of the oyster. The new pearl emerges as an alchemical miracle, a sight unimaginable at the outset. That said, the process is generated from irritation itself. Such is the medicine of the new pearl. Wow, this really goes back to venom and transforming into an antidote. The work is underway, but the gem has not yet formed. Don't become petty and hasty, seeking a return on your efforts. Rather turn to peace, consistency, and humility to remember the discomfort. Let the magic of time and salt water do its work. Relax, believe, and support a fellow alchemist in finding the grit that will become their pearl. Don't worry about you right now. The entire ocean is your ally. Interesting. It says to ponder, the pearl turning back to sand. I like that because, that's just the process of life, but it's also something that we can guard against, right? What came to mind for me first with that is actually so much of the time we can learn something and feel so we've learned such a valuable lesson, but then the same hard lesson happens again, and we take that pearl and it becomes a grain of sand again where we're just bitter about it. It's important if we're able to let the pearl just keep being a pearl, even if that's hard sometimes. As someone who would agree that that's hard sometimes. Now I'm going to get into a little bit of this tarot. Okay. First card out, girl. Three of Swords reversed, which we love to see it reversed because Three of Swords is harsh. This is heartbreak. Upright. It's extreme heartbreak. The tears of Swords of the heart. Come on. The heart which breaks over and over again but continues to live. This in reverse is the heart continuing to live. This is healing. So this is representative of having gone through a really, really hard time. But kind of being on the part of it where you're digesting it. You're starting to come out of it, even if it still feels heavy and you're still feeling this Three of Swords energy. At least there's a sense of like light at the end of the tunnel, or like maybe not even that, but there's just like a digestion of that, if it makes sense. This being a student of it, and there's a sense of comfort. I wish there was maybe a better word for that sense of like self-love you have when you allow yourself to be sad about something and you feel it and you let yourself feel it. You let this despicable face be and you feel it, then it becomes empowering and it becomes something like self-care, honestly. That's the beginning of coming out of it. Okay. Then we have the Knight of Pentacles. This can look like a new idea emerging that you want to put into action, like something you want to physically go and do. Let's see. I actually want to read the card for this. So, you are hardworking and conscientious, sticking to the routines that have worked for you in the past. You put one foot in front of the other and get the work done. You are a natural planner and implementer. So it's like doing the day-to-day tasks and doing what you can just to move forward and take care of yourself and the world around you that you know you need to take care of. That is a form of self-love that's helping you come out of this really hard place, and you're starting to feel better. Even if not your best because of it, that's the beginning of this alchemical process. Making sure you just keep doing the routines to take care of yourself. Wow. Then we have the Death card in reverse. So again, this is an ending, or it had been an ending. Let me read what it has to say about death being in the reverse, because again, it's kind of like the way after part of this death process where you're like, I've already felt like this death energy, this Three of Swords energy for so long, so intensely, so deeply, that I'm on the outs. So it says, you are experiencing deep inner change, letting go of an aspect of yourself that is no longer serving you and making way for something greater. Do not resist change. This is letting go. Wow, yeah. So death in reverse is not just death, the ending, but it's like the letting go of the ending. It's like the release of this really, really intense energy that's been bogging you down. On this despicable face, it's seeing the despicable face and letting ourselves see it. Wow, this is such an intense reading. You have the Ten of Swords in reverse. Again, this is a good sign. It's an intense card, but it's a good sign. It's like more of this really, really difficult energy of extreme pain and betrayal and ending. But it's like the beginning of the healing process of that. Let me read what this booklet again has to say about that. Yikes. I mean, by yikes, I mean, wow. You're doing a good job. And I think that's what this reading is trying to express. It's like almost like a very caring, loving acknowledgement of something really deep and dark and heavy that you may have had to go through. And maybe you're probably still going through, right? This new moon is a beginning for you to move forward. This is the release period. This is the facing it and the letting go. And this is the deep transformational, I'm learning, and there's this new rainbow world, this pearl on the horizon, the antidote. This new moon is an antidote for you, or it can be, if you allow it to be. So Ten of Swords, reverse. You are resisting change and painful endings because you do not want to face up to what is really happening. This despicable face, the venom. It's time to rip off the bandage and get this over with so you can start fresh. Wow. I'm looking at this rock again suddenly, this really green, beautiful stone. And I'm being prompted kind of to feel like I should look up what chrysoprase is supposed to be for. I'm not good at remembering stuff like that. So the World Wide Web says, chrysoprase is a vibrant apple green chalcedony, if that's how you say it, renowned for promoting emotional balance, joy, and heart-centered healing. Heart-centered healing, okay? So many hearts in this reading. Remember that, heart-centered healing. Be in touch with your heart. This is a balance, an emotional balance. Oh, that's really cool. It's a cool synchronicity. Okay, let's get this final card. We have the sun, which is a really, really beautiful ending to this reading. It landed sideways, okay? I'm going to be honest about that. And to me, this card, if you don't know, the sun represents joy. It represents light. Obviously, there's a child riding on this horse under the sunlight. This is joy. Happiness. And with it landing in a funny position, you're probably still feeling really deeply, heavily immersed in some pain that you've been dealing with and going through. But this whole reading is basically saying, you can do this. You can face this despicable face. You can feel the venom and face that. And by doing this, you will find, by being willing to be this mystic, to look into, and being this, like, in this learning attitude, as hard as that may be and as annoying as that might be sometimes, you can create this antidote. Find this new pearl. Grow. A new spring, right? Let me read both of the definitions for the sun in this book. Okay. Excuse me. I'm all over the place. Okay, the sun upright represents, it says, you are surrounded by warmth, radiance, and vitality. You are lit up, energized by possibility, growth, and success. Radiate your light and shine it on the world. Okay, and with it being reversed, it says, you may feel depleted or exhausted. Retreat from the outer world to re-energize and recharge. You do not have to be on 100% perfect of the time. You do not have to be on, like, on an on mode, 100 perfect of the time. I think it's supposed to say 100% of the time. Give yourself a break. See, even this published deck had a typo. You can just let yourself be. Honestly, you're probably feeling more of that reversed version of it. It landed more like this. So even if you find yourself surrounded by goodness and like, oh, I should be doing better or whatever, like you're just not feeling it, that's okay. That is okay. You can let this venom, again, this green, the greenness of the venom, be what it is. Like I think it's annoying when people say, yeah, but you're gonna do well. Like they try to change it into something positive right away, but nothing is, like, so many things are not positive right away. It takes time, and you will find your way out of it. But allow yourself to do that. But remember, even if it's a process, even if it's a slow process, looking at this despicable face is the way through. Addressing it, acknowledging the truth for what it is, seeing it all for what it is. It's going to bring you the antidote. So, wow, that was a beautiful reading. Thank you for watching pile number 2, and I hope everything goes well for you. Hope this is a happy and healthy new moon for you, and that you do anything and everything to take care of yourself, take care of your heart. Maybe do some kind of ritual to take care of your heart, and love yourself. I hope all is well for you, and yeah, thanks for coming. Moving on to pile 3 now. This is fun. I'm enjoying doing that. That was a cool read. Really synchronistic. Okay. All right. Hey, pile number 3, you chose book 3, Revelations in Air. I'm going to read a little excerpt from you, and here's your stone, your little selenite heart. Ooh, which I think represents, like, it's like a purifier of energy, etc. I think it kind of resonated with me for this because this is called Revelations in Air, and it has to do with, like, air in general. And for some reason, it's just, like, purifying the air, right? I'm also going to roll these dice for you, give you a number, a synchronistic number to watch out for. So this is 9. This is the same as pile number 2, so pile number 2 might resonate with you also, but yeah, 9. Let's get into it. I'm going to find a random passage, a random page, and just read randomly. Okay. So the first thing I looked at was this paragraph. Tea crossed the Atlantic with American colonists, who famously resisted British taxation, dumping tea into Boston's port waters in protest. Americans savored tea much as the British did, contributing to innovations of iced tea and disposable tea bags in the early 20th century. Elsewhere in North America, the Innu people of Labrador, Canada, used to migrate to seasonal hunting grounds and carry all their belongings with them. Their children carried tea dolls stuffed with tea leaves. They'd use the tea then and replace the doll's stuffing with grass or hay. Which is interesting. So I'm assuming we landed on tea. I'm going to read the first part of this tea because it's so cool the way that these are described. It's inviting. The smell suggests great depth. A whiff of wood smoke lifts from my tea leaves. A smoky black lapsang sao chong, whatever that is. It must be a kind of tea. With a hint of pine resin. It smells syrupy and rich like raisins, welcoming and combustible like tobacco. Smelling the dried leaves draws you briefly into melancholy. It's an outdoorsy, all-by-your-lonesome smell. The scent contains within itself a picture of waiting. You, alone in the cold, awaiting a hot drink to buck you up. Sniffing the leaves again. Wow. Excuse me. Sniffing the leaves again, one thinks suddenly of citrus zest, a glint of sunshine slicing through the moodiness. Brewed in a cup, the lapsang souchong changes. Its discreet notes meld into smoothness. It tastes full, lucid, entirely without bitterness. Its nuances are still present, just resolved into balance. That reminds me of the earlier in the astrological reading, the prism. All the skill it took to harvest the tea leaves blooms in the cup just by adding boiling water. Just by adding boiling water, this smells like, dispersed. Wow, that's cool. Again, with that prism likening. And I also think it's interesting that it started out with that, talking about the American colonizers, which we have so many heroic stories about. And I think those can exist simultaneously with the fact that we're all coming to terms to, especially those of us who were brainwashed forever. It's like, there was so much harm that was done too. And I feel like a lot of that's weighing on us right now. That might be weighing on you. This idea of colonization coming in, innovating, sure, but like at the cost of erasing such wisdom and culture. And I'm not saying any part of it is like good, but being able to smell a tea, for example, and to smell all the different notes the same way that you can look at a prism and break it up into several different wavelengths of light. I'm seeing a lot of parallels there. Seeing this pattern that we're all seeing together, and seeing, again, with the colonization too, it's often so much based on like judgment of different kinds of peoples, when we're all really the same at our root, and we all crave the same kind of things, and there's certain kind of tribalism, village, community. We are very communal creatures, etc. I am digressing. I digress. I mean, I'm at the last read, and I'm just like all over the place. I'm feeling these allergies, but that's all interesting. So let's get into it. I'm going to start off with this deck I made. It's about physics concepts. It's going to be more a little more abstract at the beginning part of the reading, just to get us off into a basically the core energy. Okay, so the first card I'm reading, so this is light. This card represents light domination and light preference, which is hard to explain. This is embarrassing for me. I'm like realizing as I'm using this deck that I need like the descriptors written out so that I can better explain what it's about. Especially because a lot of this is stuff that I like written as my own concepts. But like basically what it is it's saying that light moves both through preference and dominance. So light moves in the way that it naturally will. And then it can change based on how we will it. So like how we manipulate the environment. So that's what we're going to have at the beginning be. Light moves in a certain way, naturally, in a certain pattern. But we can do things to shape the light, to basically move with the prism. You can break down and change how light travels. If you put it through a filter, shine it through water, or through a pane of glass, it can be totally different. Okay, the next card we have is this is consciousness. So this is basically like base consciousness. This is just inwardness. This is awareness of self. So the eye is closed and the focus, the gravity is within. So this is looking within oneself. Okay. And then we have, this also showed up in reading number 2. So again, that might resonate with you, but this is representative of timelessness and eternity. This is where the light both is inward and outward. It's in balance, right? There's a balance to everything. There's a slight imbalance, which allows this slight, it's wiggle room to exist, to be animate, for anything to exist at all. And that's what generates this just like being, right? Stay with me. This is my own deck, so I hope that makes any sense. But so that's the first part of our reading. Yeah, tea. A cacophony of smells. What I find it interesting, the smells that burst into many smells, like a lot more rich and full. When boiling water is added to it, the flavor comes out more. Okay. So the first card we have from this Kim Kranz Archetypes deck is the Mountain. And this card represents, it talks about, at least the artist talks about, like the treasure often being deep in the mountain versus on top of it. Instead of scaling all the way up to the top, it's like within, which is interesting and resonating with this card of inwardness and being aware inwardly. Let me keep that there. So yeah, a first card from our Archetypes deck. How we manipulate the light. And honestly, this is reminding me of that tea thing, right? Like the smells, they bloom a lot more. They can change. They already exist as they are, but we can manipulate them by adding different things to them or changing their environment. And so then those smells bloom the mountain on top of it. Inwardness. Let's keep going. Okay, then we have the temple. I love these like plants and vines growing on that side. These praying hands. I really love this sitting on top of this inwardness card. This is allowing the self and like one's own intuition and experience be something that we can turn to and actually, like, in a non-blasphemous way, right? I don't know what you believe in, whatever. But our own experience and like deep well of self, which is connected to the greater everything, the everythingness that we belong to, is a good source to turn to pray to like turn to for guidance. We can turn to ourselves to reflect back on the mandala that we talked about in the astrological reading and see the patterns and turn to the scrolls, that our own scrolls that we wrote in our lifetimes. Okay, card 3, the Pilgrim. This is a journey. Interesting. I like that this there's so much color on the outer edges, and it seems kind of like confusing almost. Like there's just like hard to know which way is up. And this eye in the center, which just continues to look forward. That's what the Pilgrim is. It's like setting out on a new journey, something that you don't know yet. But using what you have learned, and turning to the inward self to take this outward journey. Let's use our alchemy deck. The Pilgrim. Also, I'm remembering the excerpt about the colonizers, which I grew up in a religion that was very American and very like colonizing, right? And they talk about the Pilgrims a lot. And they celebrate that history, and there is a lot of beauty there. While there's so much erasure, is being able to turn inward and see that, to see the truth of it, right? Like, let the spectrum be the spectrum, but throw the boiling water on and let all the smells come out as they are. And there's actually a lot more beauty in the whole truth, right? Versus pieces. That's where the fullness of flavor, the fullness of smell, fullness of color comes from. First card from this deck is Synchronicity. I love this snake, this like Ouroboros like snake pattern, black and white, eating itself, eating each other. It's kind of this eternal energy. It reminds me of this card, of this timelessness, eternity thing, with this diamond at the center. It is this process always, right, of like devouring oneself and then becoming something new out of what we've devoured by turning inward and then exploring with this pilgrim outward. We're able to do this process, which allows for animation to be, for existing at all. That's life, that's living. There is treasure. I'm also noticing with this mountain card being associated with this inwardness of turning, again, it's inside the mountain, not on top of it. That's where the temple is. It's like inside the self. We don't have to achieve something. We already have it within us. We already have all this experience. There's something within us that already has prompted us to want the thing that we're seeking anyway. And whatever that thing that is prompting that from within us is responsible ultimately for the thing that we seek. So we turn to that thing. We turn to whatever that energy is, whatever it is within us that seeks it, right? Whatever this pilgrim is seeking, safety. I'm thinking about so many of the people in our country that are, here in the US, that are seeking refuge, that are pilgrims, that are seeking safety and security, and have to turn to this inward self-trust to even branch out and go see what they could possibly find, where there is like any sense of color, sense of up, right side uppedness, or whatever. Ooh, oops. Hang on a second. I almost mixed all of these up so weird and bad. Okay. Yeah, I mean, reading 2 might really resonate with you. You might want to check that out, because especially if that reading was really intense, like heavy, but like in a productive way, I think. But it addressed some deeper feels. It feels like, wow, yeah, reading 2 also drew this card. So this is Jupiter. Here we have it again. It's also really, really relevant in today's astrological read and the new moon with Venus squaring Jupiter that we talked about. Jupiter also rules the spiritual, philosophical self, rules higher learning. Again, there's so much within us that we can turn to. Being willing to resort to our inner self. And in the previous reading, in reading number 2, green was associated with the heart, was associated with spring, was also associated with venom, being able to integrate all of that. I'm also remembering at this very moment a poem that I had read a long time ago. And one of the lines has always stuck with me, which is, green is the color of the Holy Ghost, which I love. It was in a reference to nature, and I do love that. Again, referencing to these leaves. I'm thinking of the tea leaf thing. Wow, she's making so many connections. Hope that's not an annoying amount of connections. Okay, and then we have this card, Spring, which also had to do with the previous read. I love this beautiful tree. It's like this white light and this rainbow coming from it. It's new life. New life. Right on top of this pilgrim and timelessness and eternity card. We will always be pilgrims. We are never, ever going to stay in the same place. The life is just a series of great change and transformation. And it will continue to be that way. And even your parents and their parents, whenever, they were probably from different places. They've all had their own pilgrimages, right? We are never, ever going to not be pilgrims. But we can always resort to the vast bank of knowledge, like in human history, when we were able to see the entire truth of things. We were able to resort to our own inner self and then connect to that wider sense of capital S, self, the greater everythingness that we belong to, whether you call that God or source or whatever it may be. We can tap into that here. Okay, get into some tarot. Okay, first card out of the deck is the Six of Wands in reverse. So this card represents, you're seeing this lady riding on top of a horse in kind of a celebratory way. And with it being in reverse, this could be like maybe the feeling of a missed opportunity, or you haven't achieved. You're feeling sorrowful about not having achieved. Let's see what the actual book has to say about this. Six in reverse. Six of Wands in reverse. You may be lacking in self-confidence, seeking approval and validation from others rather than trusting yourself. Stop comparing yourself to others. It is taking away from your personal power and self-belief. We will never not be pilgrims. We will always, over and over again. We have the Page of Swords. Looking brave. He's even got the little winged shoes, kind of like Mercury, who is the god of communication. He's the one that runs back and forth and gives people, like, delivers messages. Mercury, which is exactly conjunct the North Node today, right? So maybe this message is what resonates for you, or maybe it's something you have yet to ideate, something that, have this revelation that will change things for you, but this being in the upright is really cool. Let me read what the book has to say about the page. Upright. You have a curious mind and love to ask questions and learn new things. You are a natural communicator and ready to take the next step to share your message with the world. Your message with the world. Your message when you turn inward and you pray to this thing, right? Like praying can mean like just holding sacred, right? And deeply sitting with, right? Meditating on. Or actually praying, whatever it is for you. And maybe this clothes, this inwardness shows up as just prayer for you if that's your thing. Whatever it is that you need to do. I'm feeling like I should shuffle these. Suddenly do it. Oh, one fell out. The Lovers in reverse. Right on top of this Jupiter of expansion, growth, philosophy, and higher learning. So the Lovers usually represents choices, not just love in the literal sense. It's like this is something I can choose between this or that. Go this path or something else. Let's see. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to find having a day. Okay. Lovers reverse. Honor and love your beautiful self. Integrate the different parts of yourself to find true alignment and harmony. Become aware of what you value and honor those values in your choices. And this card is beckoning you to honor and love yourself. Again, this inward thing, turning to this temple, inward temple. There's so much expansion and growth. With Jupiter being in Cancer right now, could be extremely emotional for you. And you should allow yourself to be an honor yourself that way. Honestly, this reading kind of feels like an extension of the first one. So if this is resonating to you, check out reading 2. Second reading also had this Sun in reverse. It was kind of an awkward position. It was basically reversed in the last one. So the Sun is happiness and joy. Again, this is like really, really getting over some really hard time. With it being in reverse, it says, you may feel depleted or exhausted. Retreat from the outer world to re-energize and recharge. You do not have to be on 100% of the time. Give yourself a break. Go inside and honor. This is really just beckoning to turn inward. You might want to spend this night or plan to spend some time tonight, even if it's like making a plan tonight to do it soon, to really, really go inward. And what will that look like? Not just like, oh, I'm going to do this without any plan. Make a plan about going inward and decide what you need for that. Do you need a journal, a candle? Do you want your favorite snack? Do you want, a bath? Whatever it might be. Take care of yourself. Love yourself in a way that makes you feel like you take care of yourself in the way that you would take care of the person you love most. Honor yourself in the same way that you would give honor and love to someone else. That's what you deserve. It is. We forget that. Do that for yourself. And lastly, we have this Queen of Cups in reverse. Let me read what that has to say. Queen of Cups. You let your heart rule over your head. Emotions may be overwhelming you. You may be caring for everyone else but yourself. Self-care and self-love are critical. What were we just talking about? Make these plans, It's okay to be where you are. This is part of this animation of life, this back and forth forever, just churning into life thing. Being a pilgrim. Spring comes around every year, and it also goes away. Things bloom, they die. That is something we should feel emotion about. Actually, in the last reading, we were talking about how addressing it and seeing that for what it is and really absorbing that. That is the purification process. It's the purification of the heart. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot here that really makes sense. I'm going to do one more card for you. I'm going to say out of the archetypes deck. Send you off. The Judge. And there you have it, the Judge. What comes to mind firstly is that we are our own harshest critics. We are our own judges, the judges of ourselves and the judges of those around us. And others have the ability to judge us too, but ultimately, this is saying that you are the judge, right? So let me look at what the artist has to say about this particular card. Here's the thing. I was saying this in reading number 2. I'm so silly. I forgot how to read Roman numerals. That's like all this is. I'm getting there. Okay, here we go. The Judge, the critic, the diplomat, the advocate. Advocate. The Judge has an incredibly important job. They work every waking hour of every day, helping us to discern what is safe, true, and just. When this archetype remains unconscious or is captivated by fear, wise discernment turns into painful judgment of self and other. Ironically, the Judge's energy can be the seed of racism, bigotry, and fear-mongering. This is the Judge out of balance, building walls, separating from other. When the same discerning force is made conscious and healed, however, the Judge may be found advocating for civil rights causes, standing up for the underdog, providing resources for those in need, and forgiving again and again. Love is the deciding factor. Awakening this archetype is essential for the complex times we are in. Get your Judge in order. The world needs it. Wow, that makes me emotional. I mean, wow, that really connects us really back to the beginning of this reading with the excerpt about tea, and they starting it out with the little bit on colonization and like, you know, the Boston Tea Party, and they were like upset because they were being controlled by the British Empire still, even though they come in and wiped out a whole other group of people in the process, right? Like they wanted their freedom, but they did not give the same kind of justice and freedom to the people that they oppressed. And you know, this Judge cycle can be harsh, but when we are healthy and we are allowed to turn inward and see the whole picture, see the light as it naturally travels and the way that it's manipulated for better and for worse, we're able to see all of that. We're actually able to manipulate it for the, in good, healthy ways. We're able to use love as the driving force. And I hope that that's what you do for yourself this new moon. I hope that this ends up being productive, transformative energy for you. This is such lovely energy. I hope you do and plan whatever it is that you need to do to heal yourself and to take care of yourself the way that you would take care of the person you love very most in the world. The person you would forgive or had forgiven again and again and again. That's what you deserve. It is what you deserve. I hope you give that to yourself. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you at the next read. Bye-bye.